everybody. Welcome back to Behind the Joystick. I'm your host today, Cordy Yikes, and I have here with me Sid. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Courtney?
I'm good. For people who might not know who you are, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Sid Hudson, or Vizik. I know it's an impossible username to say, so I understand if you just call me Sid. I am the head analyst at Converse University for the Valkyries, and I used to be the head analyst over at Simpson College down in Iowa, but now I'm over here in South Carolina, living it up.
That's awesome. And also, it's a very unique name, which is pretty cool because then it's easier to find you.
That that is true. That is true.
So we'll go ahead and get started with the journey into your esports. Where did all this begin?
Okay, so it kind of started officially with the Overwatch League. Me and my friends were playing Overwatch constantly when we were in high school, and randomly we found the announcement for the Overwatch League. We weren't really like big into watching esports at the time, nor really were like, yeah, esports is like this huge thing. We were kind of just like, yeah, MLG exists, and sweaty nerds play Call of Duty in their mom's basement, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, so we were like, hey, it's like localized. We got teams we can cheer for. I was a big Los Angeles Gladiators fan because there was like no teams in the Midwest, at least not ones that I was willing to cheer for.
Oh,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah, uh, and that's kind of what started it all. And then I'm graduating high school. I'm heading to Simpson. Um, I spent my first year there kind of pittering around, not really sure what to do. And then near the end of my freshman year at Simpson, we hire Hubert Wantong, the current director over at Simpson College. And I was like, oh, we have like an esports team. That's cool. Let me go check that out. So I email him and I'm like, hey, I want to join. I want to help any way I can. Player, coach, he wasn't really doing staff at the time. So he was like, sure, we offer, he's like, what games do you play? And I was like, oh, I mainly play like Overwatch. And he goes,
Hmm.
yeah, we're not doing Overwatch. We have League, Rocket League, Magic the Gathering Arena, and Valorant. That's what we're doing. And I was like, cool, 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 cool.
Right.
I've touched League before. I said through lying through my teeth just so I could like be a part of the program. He's like, cool. I'll see you in the fall. So I spent uh, all summer trying to get up my level one league account that I had made as a sort of a passing thing with my friends one time.
Hmm.
And then I get there in the fall and I meet Hubert for the first time in person. He's like, okay, cool. What rank are you? And I was like, oh, I'm not ranked. And he's like, oh, what level are you? I was like, I'm like level 16. He's like, okay, you can sit on the bench for a while.
Oh no.
And so I like to tell that story in the sense of I always like to say that I lied to get onto the esports team, but he was like, no, I was just gonna let you on either way. And I was like, that's
Oh
fair, that's
man.
fair.
So you tried really hard during the summer just to come in the fall and him go, you're gonna sit on the bench.
Yeah, it was more of a like we had a great support there. His name was Jacob Maelstrom, uh, and I was already going to sit behind him no matter what. But I think for me, it was just nice that I was on the team. I feel like there's a lot of directors in the space who would look at my unranked level 16 has barely touched the game before and just not let me in the program at all. So it
Right.
was really nice that Hubert kind of gave me that chance and was like, all right, we're going to work with you.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so I ride the bench my first year in the program, which would be my sophomore year in college, and then near the end of my sophomore year, I have to do this presentation about jobs in my space. And my major, I'm a management information systems major with a minor in computer information systems.
That's cool.
Um, and I was like, I know that esports isn't directly tied into management information systems, but my professors don't know that. And I needed to interview like five people. So I interviewed Hubert as a sort of like free interview and then went to go try to find tech people later. And I sat down with him and I actually talked to him probably for the first time about what collegiate esports is and what he does as his job and director. And I was like, oh my god, I want to do this. So probably like halfway through the summer, I reach out to Hubert again, and I'm like, hey, I want to do this. I want to be staff, and I want to do esports as my job. Not knowing at all what that meant, truly. But it was a work in progress, and once again, Hubert was like, all right, I'm gonna take a chance on you, and I'm gonna work with you and I was the program's first ever work study through the college. I got paid a whopping $7.25 an hour.
Hey, that's
Uh,
a steal.
I guess for most paying or for most positions in esports, yes, that is a steal. Um, uh, and we developed the work study program there, and then we kind of ironed out what it means to be an analyst at Simpson
Hmm.
because we truly weren't entirely sure what an analyst was supposed to do in general, or really what my skills entailed. Um, so I worked as the head analyst my junior year, while also being on the league team and starting my junior year. And then my senior year, I quote retired from league to focus solely on my analyst work. Ironed down that after I'm graduated and after I'm done with my master's degree, I want to be a, collegiate director one day. And then graduated, got in touch with Katie,
Hmm.
and the rest is history.
That's awesome. That's very cool. So then, shout out to Hubert
Yeah,
for
no,
kind of pushing you. I talked to him in one of these podcasts too. So he's he's a pretty cool dude for sure. And so then, pretty much Simpsons Esports got you into Converse Esports, and how's that transition been, especially like from League of Legends to now being in uh analysis analysis analytics.
yeah, that works. No, it's definitely been different. I will say that League is probably one of the more analytical heavy games out there.
Hmm.
So it was kind of nice to play that first and then start moving into analyst. And yeah, you know what? I'm also getting tripped up on it. So you know what? You're all good. And
Is it
analytics,
analysis or is it analytics? I feel like
I
analytics
would
is like
say,
the right word.
yeah, I would say an analytic role.
Yeah.
It was really nice to be able to play that and kind of get a sense of what like the most analytics you have to do
Hmm.
for a game compared to a game like Rocket League, where there's really not a lot of analytics that can be done.
Yeah.
At least not from a like outside perspective. And I games like Smash and Rocket League are what I like to call VOD games,
Hmm.
where you really can't get a lot from outside looking in. And I mean, like most games are like that, to be honest. A VOD review always helps in any game, but those are the games that the only information you can get is from VODs. That's it. Um,
Okay. For people who don't really know what um, esports analytics do, like what would be like the breakdown for it to, like what would be like a working game for you to do analytics for?
So I will preface this by saying I am not a traditional analyst. Most esports analysts, especially at the professional level, are hardcore coders who can access the game's API, which
Hmm.
stands for the Application Programming Interface. A lot of the tracking apps like Mobalytics or Tracker that you use run through the game's API to give you the information that you're seeing on your screen. Um, I never got too deep into my coding knowledge in my undergrad. It's the main reason I switched over to a management information systems major instead of just a straight computer information systems major.
Mhm.
So most most professional analysts will interact with the API, pull statistics straight from there. It also gives them map information like league. You can see where the enemy team is like placing their wards and where their vision cones are most likely to be. Whereas I like to say I'm more of like a traditional sports analyst,
Mhm.
where I do work with numbers heavily, but it's not in the coding sense, and I like to just I kind of like to use my eyes a lot. And Valorant is probably the easiest game to do that on, and it's the game I've found the most success in. Um, where there's this wonderful app called Tracker GG that tracks players' custom games, which is what we all play in our custom games
Right.
when we get to esports. So I can see every map that every Valorant team has played on. Most of the time, accurately guess what maps they're going to ban and play in. Try to push that in our favor, and then prep the team, uh, being like, "Hey, we know that this team is going to play Ascent this week. Like, we're gonna play Ascent. So I want us to uh, buckle down on Ascent scrims. I want to try to play Ascent as much as possible.
Mhm.
Really iron out our comp on there, and then if I can find any vods on them, so we can see exactly how they're playing on like Ascent, so we can try to counterplay them. I also I've kind of fallen back on it this year. But at Simpson is where I truly developed it. I developed sort of a stat tracker
Mhm.
for the program, similar to in traditional sports. I'll use like football, for example, where you'll kind of see like records, like this person threw 4 touchdowns in a single game. They're tied for most in uh, school uh, career,
Yeah.
uh, and I thought that was something that esports was severely lacking, was history and records. I think that a lot of, especially collegiate esports, a lot of people complain that we don't really get the history of things because teams are constantly changing, and it's very rare that you get to play the same team every season, unless it's in like playoffs or something, because the best teams usually stay the best teams for a little bit.
Right.
I don't think that's always true, especially if you pay attention to kind of some of the lower leagues. For example, our somehow at Simpson, their Valorant B team has played Cotty College every single semester for almost 3 years now.
Oh wow. Okay. What
Which
is
is like,
Cotty
sorry,
College?
Cotty College is an all female college down in Missouri.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, and it's very unheard of for teams, especially in kind of the lower leagues, as teams are always getting better or getting worse, to stay in sort of the same ranking system within their leagues. So when I saw that they were playing Cotty again this semester, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like 3 years in a row now that in the fall we've played them. So much so that I know Simpson is going to do another. We have a LAN that they do where they invite Cotty up to Simpson, and the Cotty the Simpson and Cotty Valorant, Smash, and Overwatch teams have kind of a small friendly land that they like to do there.
That is so cool. And so with this, going back to being in the like
Hmm.
traditional space instead of like the coding parts, do you think
Hmm.
that this kind of helps you gain more of like a edge over the competition that you're doing because you're going through a traditional route instead of the coding route?
I think it does. I think that as you get higher in the space, you need sort of a coding knowledge. Like there's certain games that I can't give them a total edge,
Hmm.
but uh, Huber had this saying that he always liked to say, and I've adopted it for Converse as well. And it's hard work beats talent when talent won't work hard.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, especially when you get to the top of esports, uh, your players, once they hit a certain rank or level in their game, think that they don't need to practice or work hard anymore.
Right.
And that's not the case, and it's not the case in any other high level profession out there, and it's definitely not the case in esports. So oftentimes we will run into teams who, haven't played ranked in forever or barely practice as a team, and we may be a little under level than them or a little less skilled. But the way that we gain a competitive advantage is by working hard, and some of that working hard is, doing the dirt work of trudging through their ranked games, finding what champions they love to play, or trudging through weeks and weeks of Twitch VODs, and finding videos that, unless you're spending like an hour on Twitch, you're not going to find,
For sure.
to help gain some sort of knowledge piece over a team. And I honestly do believe that that gives us an advantage.
Oh, absolutely. I could only imagine like trying to watch hours of gameplay and VODs of like the other team or even your own team. Sometimes, even for me, I get burnt out and I'll just kind of skip. But then whenever I go back and I actually watch it, just kind of have noise in the background, I'm like, oh, wait, I needed to clip that. That was actually a good thing to get.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I feel like for sure, definitely spending the time to go through all that is probably like a really good advantage for y'all for sure. Um, I guess for all this, where's my other question? For people who want to do um, esports analysis, what would you say would be like a good roadmap um, to getting
Um,
to where you're at?
I would start by saying if you want to do it at a high level, a
Hmm.
super high level, you need to have coding knowledge, whether that's Python, C++, Java, um, HTML. You need to have coding knowledge, and you need to have in depth coding knowledge. Python is the language that I always used. I've always liked it. It's a really simple language.
For sure.
Um, Bioria, a high level league analyst, has a wonderful video series about coding in the Riot API for League. Riot is probably one of the best companies out there in terms of open API.
Hmm.
Companies like Blizzard and Nintendo just don't have those open API,
Right.
um, or even Psyonix, the Rocket League company. So if you really want to be high level, you need to have coding knowledge, and you need to be able to access the API. If you want just a starting point, um, honestly, I do recommend what I started at Simpson, which is just the stat tracking system. It's hard and it's tedious, and you need to be patient. And a lot of teams aren't going to work with you. But um, I think that keeping a historical stat tracker for the players is really important.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, they're going to disagree with you until they're seniors in college, and they're like, "Man, I'm so glad I have 4 years of stats to look back on and see, and like have physical proof of my time here in the esports program." And if you're lucky enough to work with players who are going to go on and be in the professional scene, they then will have, their statistics to present to teams, and hopefully have an edge over the competition and getting a role in those professional organizations.
Hmm.
Um, really but at the core of it, it's you need to have coding knowledge, and it's something I wish I had, but I really don't have the time to go back and learn it all now. So
Right.
uh,
But
yeah,
I mean, you
but
still
I
have
would.
time to really like. I guess you could boot camp and go on like day to day and learn a little bit to where you can gain it. You know.
This is true, but yeah, a master's degree will take that out of you real quick.
Oh, I believe it. I do believe it. So, do you feel that esports would probably be somewhere you're continuing after your master's, or do you think that
Yes.
collegiate space is going to be it for you?
I really don't want to work in the professional esports.
Hmm.
I think collegiate esports is the place to be right now.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we've been talking about the esports winter for years now, and it seems closer than ever with teams that have just won championships closing down, and teams that have been around here forever closing down. Um, the professional space is too volatile right now. We've
Yeah,
had a bunch of people come in outside of the space, seeing esports as a quick money grab, and now the professional scene is bearing the brunt end of that.
for sure,
Meanwhile,
especially with the layoffs.
oh yeah, no, it's been crazy. Um, Meanwhile, collegiate esports, we have our troubles. I mean, there was the big NACE PlayFi split over the summer. That was a rough one to see, but I think it was a good, necessary thing. Um, uh, I think collegiate right now has a good like community space, and I think we just need to keep doing that, and not let outside uh, forces, I guess you can say, work their way into collegiate because they think that they can make money here, which they could,
Absolutely.
but that's not the reason to get
Right.
in.
It shouldn't be that way for sure.
Yeah, so personally, I'm going to stay in the collegiate field. I also just love helping people. I used to want to be a teacher until I worked with actual children, and I was like, this isn't for me.
Right.
But college kids are a different breed, and I think it's something that I can handle a lot better. So I'm going to uh, after I graduate with my master's, go and direct a program somewhere, either start my own or help out at an existing program that either needs an assistant director or a new director. So
Absolutely. What do you think the collegiate space of esports is going to be like in the next 5 years?
um, I think that's almost an impossible question because there's the really hopeful answer and there's the really honest answer. I think
For
the really
sure.
hopeful answer is that we start getting along. We start actually talking to each other, and we start taking this a little bit uh, seriously. We start communicating with our admin
Hmm.
and understand that certain teams. I'm going to stop there. Now I'm getting into some personal beef there. I think that the honest answer is that it's probably going to be kind of the same with just a little bit more viewership.
For
I
sure.
think that I don't think the competition structure is going to change. I think we'll see a couple new games. I know that Deadlock is really popular right now, but I'm not gonna bank on it too much. It's really early on. I know that there's a Deadlock League that just popped up, but it has no developer support, so I don't really know how that's going to work out. I know Supervive, which is a new game that came out, is looking really promising. So we'll probably see a couple new games. Um, I think that it's going to kind of remain the same. We'll just have a lot more viewership and hopefully a little bit more support from admins. I think the goal in 5 years should be that um, we have total support from admins. I would like to see us Um, I think NACAD is a really good thing. I'd like to see more directors in NACAD. I think that us coming together as a group more often and discussing the issues that we're having, and the triumphs that we're having together is really important, and helps out everyone. I don't think keeping knowledge is good. I think that
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
I I mean the stat tracker that I developed at Simpson is free on my Twitter. To anyone it's just an Excel sheet. It's super easy to use. That was my main goal, is making it really easy for people to use. Um, so like if any program wants it, it's on my Twitter. It's my pinned tweet. Um, I think that keeping knowledge is really harmful to the scene, and I think the more that we share and the more we come together is the only way that we as a community are going to honestly see the next 5 years.
For sure. What would you say, since you were able to get advice before all the collegiate space? What advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now, like before esports?
Um, just get out there. Um, Esports, especially collegiate esports, is one of those fields that anyone can be in.
For sure.
I've seen some people who know absolutely like nothing about what they're doing. Um, and I've seen some people who know a lot about what they're doing. So even if you think that you shouldn't be in the space or you don't have knowledge to give. I came from a traditional sports world. People are constantly asking me about esports moments that, like, oh, do you remember this world's? Because I used to play League. They're like, do you remember this world's moment or do you remember this League player? I'm like, no, I don't know them at all. Um, but I think everyone has valuable knowledge to give. And while there are like some quote gatekeepers in the community, I think there's more people in the community who are willing to give you a chance, and you just got to find them. Just put yourself out there, and someone will give you a job. It might not always be paid, but sweat equity is still equity.
Right. That is so awesome. And then lastly, since we have spoken about your Twitter, how much candy corn is a
Oh my gosh.
good amount of candy corn to eat?
Oh my gosh, this has caused some issues in the Converse staff chat.
Yeah.
Where there's a little bit of a rift in the Converse esports staff about from candy corn eaters and not candy corn eaters. It's like 5 pieces and you're good. You know,
5?
5 to 6, 10 is like the limit because it's just straight sugar, but it's
Right.
not bad. It doesn't taste bad, or anything. I think it's like a decent flavor. For us, we used it as a way to we're me and my partner are trying to eat a little bit healthier, and like the big part of eating healthier is knocking off the quote sweet treats. So like 5 pieces of candy corn give you your like sweetness intake that you need for the day.
That is awesome. I saw that and I was like, "Oh man, I have to ask cuz I'm a candy corn eater. I'll eat that whole bag and then want some more."
Yeah, but then you feel terrible afterwards, don't you?
I do. I feel
Yeah,
awful.
yep.
But it was definitely worth it. All right. Well, I appreciate this interview. I think this was going to be great for our viewers, especially if they want to go into like analytics uh, and kind of retrace and learn a little bit more on that. Where can people or viewers find you?
You can find me at it's Visic, VHSIQ on Twitter. And you can find me occasionally on the Converse Esports Twitch at Converse twitch.tv/Converse Esports, where I occasionally cast, but most times I'm working production behind the scenes. Twitter.
That's awesome. And I'll go ahead and put all these descriptions below too in the show notes or even on YouTube if you're hearing it there. And yeah, we'll see you guys next Friday.